Hi, welcome to the Chad Bozarth Show. Thanks for listening. Chris!
What's up, bro?
Hey, I'm sorry I'm late, man.
I'll take it out of your pay. It's all right.
Okay, I had to start off with a old man yelling at the kid on the lawn thing. When nothing against anybody who's not married and doesn't have kids, whatever, but like when I look back to my life when I was single to now being married and having kids, I'm thinking, what in the world did I even do when I wasted so much time.
Yes.
So all of you young single people listening, stop wasting time.
Learn a
So,
hobby. Learn a hobby. You got the time now. As soon as you start having kids and a mortgage and a lawn to mow, no time for no hobbies.
okay. Sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. Chris, it is so good to see you, man.
Dude, it is so good to see you.
How long have we known each other? Like 20 years?
Oh gosh, at least, right? 2007 is when I graduated DBU. 2004, something like that is when I started CF&I, 2003, something like that. So we've known each other at least since that long.
I'm really bad at math. You know, I'm gonna regret this, but I wanted to start by asking you about your time in the restaurant industry because I worked at a restaurant for about 3 days and then I quit because I couldn't handle it. And I wasn't even like I was barely even doing anything. I was like a food runner or something. And I couldn't handle the pressure and I just couldn't handle it. And so I am excited to talk to you for many reasons, but I wanted to see, I'm going to regret this, but if you could pull back the curtain a little bit and give me some insight of operating a restaurant 101 and some things maybe the average person coming in to eat doesn't know about, maybe doesn't
Sure.
want to know about, maybe should know about.
Yeah.
Now I remember I've watched enough, of these kitchen nightmare shows or whatever. I remember you taking me back to the kitchen of one of the restaurants you were working at, and you showed me everything was, refrigerated nicely, everything was labeled nicely. But when you started working at a restaurant, was it just because that was the the opportunity that presented itself and you needed some money, or how did you even get into that industry?
Yeah. I love food. And if this was a video, you would be able to see how much I love food. I love the dining experience, going to eat, and I don't know, just something about the dining experience has always been just a real treat to me. It's honestly going back to hobbies, like that's my hobby. I don't golf, I don't fish, I don't hunt, I don't buy motorcycles. I like to go eat out and get the appetizer and whatever. So when the opportunity came to start thinking about jobs, and yeah, to your point, I needed to make money, and I had some friends who were a little bit ahead of me in life who were waiting tables, and they were seemed to like be making really good money, and so I was like, okay, that seems like a good combination of values or desires, whatever. So started waiting tables. Um, and I don't know, a couple things that people might not know. I think it's pretty common knowledge now, but like the average waiter, at least in Texas, I know some states do it differently, but at least in Texas, is not making very much an hour. Like their hourly rate is legally somehow around like $2.13 an hour. And so
Mm.
and that gets gobbled up in taxes. So everything that they are making is coming through tip gratuity. So that there's kind of a saying that goes out there, like if you can't afford to tip, then you can't really afford to eat out. There's some real truth to that because the whole economy of the serving industry is the tips. So don't there are other
I feel
restaurants
like there
that you
should be
can
a
go to.
sign when you walk into the restaurant. Like I feel like a lot of people know this, but maybe there should be a sign when you walk into restaurants to be like, "Hey, just so you know, we're hardly making anything per hour, so
Yeah. Yeah.
don't forget
And the
that."
margins, oh man, okay. So like what the actual, now thinking of it from the perspective of management, the margin in a restaurant industry is so slim. Like it is hard to really, you can stay alive and functioning for a long, long time, but to really become profitable is very, very difficult. It's most of that's going to come from things like your desserts, your appetizers, and your bar sales. But your actual food is, I mean, you're just not really going to make a lot of money off of the actual food. So that's something else maybe that people might not know. Might look like a very healthy, successful restaurant, but behind the doors of the office, they could be really actually just scraping by, surviving by the skin of their teeth. Uh, what else? For the most part, any restaurant really worth, a quality restaurant, the staff is there way earlier than you think they are. So I
Hmm.
was with Papa's restaurants for many, many years, and I think like 6 a.m., maybe even a little bit earlier, kitchen staff is rolling in. They don't start the lunch service until like 11, but what are they doing? They're prepping for the day. They're prepping to order and getting things ready. And so that staff that you're interacting with, maybe not the host, maybe not the waiter. The waiter probably got there closer to maybe 10 o'clock if they open at 11. But that kitchen staff behind the scenes, they've been slaving away for a while before the doors actually open for business, and they have to stay late too to clean up and everything. So um, coming in, like if the restaurant closes at 10, coming in at 9:50 is kind of an evil thing. It's it really is. And there's a debate out there about like, well, then you should post what your kitchen hours are. Like, yeah, okay, maybe that's the thing that the US needs to start doing more. Like this, you can come in and maybe grab a drink or whatever, but even then your bartenders are stuck back. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Coming in really close to the closing date or closing time is, ugh, that's a it's a tough one.
I feel like on the one hand, I might want to go out to eat with you, but then on the other hand, there's like this pressure. I remember uh being out to eat with one of our mutual friends, and it's like when it comes time to tip, and I'm a pretty good tipper, I'll be honest with you. I'm pretty decent. But like I felt this pressure because he had been a waiter for so long and everything, and it's like I'm thinking, I don't want him to see what I'm writing down because I know he's gonna tip
Yeah.
way more than me.
Like I don't really never did, even as a member of the industry, I never really did outrageous tips. I tried to stay pretty standard, industry standard, because you can start to give the industry this weird expectation of like I don't know, it's just not reality. Like most of your customers are going to tip somewhere between the 18, 20, 25% range. And so to have those individuals who just go like ridiculously above and beyond. Now maybe around Christmas or something like that, that's a little different, but just normal season, it gives you a false sense of what is to be expected. I think the industry standard somewhere between 18 to 25%, and 25 is really like, even for me, it's like really pushing it. You must have done something phenomenal to
Yeah.
go to get that, most people are going to tip based off of what they purchase, a percentage of what they purchase. And so if I didn't buy very much, um, and my bill is going to be small, but the server did a really great job, I might take that into consideration, more and give a little bit higher percentage. Um, but if I just because I ordered the steak and the bottle of wine and the dessert, and you were just kind of sufficient as a server, I might not tip like some out just because I spent a lot of money on the food. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Um,
That would be a great t-shirt though. I'm sufficient as a server, like
yeah,
sufficient.
I
Like
am adequate.
uh,
It's
yeah. I, well, that's a good. I am
world's okayest waiter.
I'm um so would starting a restaurant be anything? because every once in a while, like I would never do this, but I love, the quintessential like 50s diner that's like stainless steel or whatever on the outside. I don't know if it's stainless steel, but you know what I'm saying, aluminum or sh shiny silver, whatever
Yeah,
material that is.
shiny
I
metal.
don't know. And just the quintessential diner. I always like dream about starting one day, and you're one of the guys I have in my mind that would do that with me.
Going
Is
back to the
that
margins,
is
man.
that is that um not a realistic dream?
It is not a realistic dream. I have I have talked myself out of getting back into the game so many times because I would be, yeah, kind of like you, romanticizing the idea of owning this little thing and it just being quaint and whatever. But dude, the stress, the like payroll and HR and the insurances and just all of the things that you don't think about. I like to kind of tell people, be real careful when people start telling you that you make the world's best chili, because that starts to get in your mind like, man, I've got the world's best chili. I should open a restaurant. And the last person who should open a restaurant is the person who makes good chili. You should sell that recipe to people who know what they're doing when it comes to operating restaurants. Because those are two different sides of the spectrum, like the culinary chef side and the I know how to turn a dollar. I know how to make profit out of this. And those are usually not the same person. And so the operations, the execution, the logistics, the legal, I mean, all of that stuff just it sucks your soul out because you just got into it because you wanted to make good chili, and you just wanted to
Yeah.
serve people this thing that you love making that brings you life. So my best advice would be just invite friends over and cook the food and do it in your home and do it next year or next month or however frequently you want to do it. But the idea of opening up that restaurant, danger, Will Robinson, man. There's a lot at stake.
Man, I think that's so, it's not negative, it's just real. I think that's so right what you just said. It reminds me of a book. I don't think I've finished reading it. I was listening to the audio. Anyway, but the point of the book, it was called E-Myth Revisited. Have you
Oh
read
yeah.
that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a great book for exactly the reason that you just said. There's so many, and he calls them, I think, in the book, technicians. There's so many technicians who are really good at baking a cake or making chili or painting a picture or whatever it is. And so, like you said, they have so many people. You got the best chili, you got the best chili. You should start a chili restaurant or whatever. And it's like, but they're not business people. And that for me is one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn over the last whatever many years is knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at and being okay with that.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that can be a rude awakening because, you know, depending on who your inner circle is, sometimes you're told that you're good at things that maybe you're not
Yes.
actually good at.
Okay,
And
so my wife is
so,
a teacher, right? And she's constantly coming home with like, the idea of grades and kids making certain grades or whatever. It's always in my home, and it's usually a topic of conversation how her class is doing, whatever. And like every parent wants their kid to make straight A's. And that's such a high, goal for the majority of families in the US, make straight A's, make, A's and B's at the least. Um, but what do those letters represent, right? What does the letter C? Well, I'm on a video. What does the letter C actually stand for? Average. What does the A stand for? Like above and beyond average. And in the real world, where are most people going to be? Average. And there's nothing wrong with that. Taking the bell curve, right? Where is standard deviation? It's going to be right there in the middle of that bell curve. That's where most people are going to be. But for 12 years plus, we're hearing it and believing it and drinking that Kool-Aid that I got to be an A plus student, A's and B's. Well, maybe on some things you will be, but on everything, well, that seems to go against the whole concept of math. Like you're just like the population can't all be A's. There has to be people who are in the C's and they're average, and that's fine. Like I just don't know where we lost the idea that it's okay to like we were just talking about. It's okay to be the world's most okay server. It's okay. Be
Yeah.
C. That's fine. And I don't know, like as a parent, we want our kids to, we want to challenge our kids to find out if they are. But when it becomes very real that, hey, buddy, you're just not gonna be a basketball star.
Yeah.
It's
That's
okay.
yeah. And you're not being necessarily negative by saying that. I mean, it's like they say um somebody got the lowest grade in med school, you know? And
Yeah.
that's you know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. How do we define success? And that's what I was just talking to email the other day, recording an episode, and that's what he said, it's like comparison just robs your joy because
So big.
what is success? There's a purpose that you have for your life, and that is not, you can't compare it to other people. So you strive for excellence and being the best that you can be in the context of your life. But man, it's hard. I need to be reminded of it all the time. So let me pivot to that a little bit. As long as I've known you, you've been involved either directly or indirectly in youth ministry. And one thing I've always admired about you is it, I feel like a lot of times, it's not fair to say all the time, but sometimes I think people look at youth ministry as like a step, people who are in Christian ministry, they
Yeah.
look at youth ministry as like a stepping stone to
Yeah.
being a senior pastor or whatever that might look like. And it's not, they don't have nefarious motives or whatever, but it's like they don't see it um, for what it should be. And I've always admired that about you, is you haven't. Uh, from my point of view, I don't see that you've ever seen it as like some stepping stone, as you've been passionate about um, ministering to youth since as long as I've known you. So how did you get that passion for reaching youth and um, even to this day, after so many years, you're still doing that?
Yeah, so that goes back all the way to my junior year of high school. Kind of my, the journey of my calling or whatever. I was in English class, and my English teacher, was like announcing it's time for the research paper, and she had this format where you could, I think it was alphabetized by our last name. When it was your turn, whatever was left on the board of topics that she'd already picked and populated, you could go pick whatever was left on the board that was interesting to you. And so when it got to my name, I went up to go pick. And she said, actually, Wasco, well, she didn't say Wasco, she said Chris. But she said, Chris, actually, I want you to do this book. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be singled out. Don't treat me different. I'm okay just picking from the board like everybody else so far. She goes, no, I want you to do this one. She's like, but what if I don't want to do that one? What if I want to do just the board and pick what I was already thinking about picking? And she goes, well, I'll make a deal with you. You either do the book that I've got that I already picked for you, or you can pick last and just whatever's left. I was like, gee, this is a hardball, man. What the heck? And so finally I was like, all right, fine, I'll take yours. So I'd never heard of Catcher in the Rye up to this point in my life. And that's what she hands me. She hands me J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye. And I don't know, are you familiar with the story? Are you familiar with it? Yeah. And so the main character is just really frustrated and disillusioned with what he thinks adult life is like. He uses words like phonies and fakes all the time throughout the story about like I just see unhappy people doing things that aren't making them happy, and they're putting on a fake smile, and that's just not a future that I have any desire to be a part of. And so he's real kind of leaf in the wind, disillusioned, trying to find the meaning of life. And through some conversations, he gets to this kind of eureka moment that back when he was a grade student, they would go play baseball in the rye fields. And they didn't have a lot of money. They were kind of a poor neighborhood. And so it was kind of a precious commodity to have the baseball. Over the course of several times playing, he realized a pattern that if somebody hit that home run or hit that ball and it got into the high grass, likely they weren't going to find it, and that meant game over. And they had to wait until somebody came across the resources to buy a baseball again for them to go have fun again. And so he made the conscious decision that I'm going to play outfield. I'm going to play the last man back, and I'm going to do my darndest to make sure that that ball doesn't get past me because I don't want the fun to end. I don't want that ball to get lost. And so I'm going to intentionally choose a lifestyle that maybe isn't the most sexiest or the most desired or maybe the most obvious. Most people want to play pitcher or catcher or first base or whatever shortstop, not outfield. That's usually not the one that people are like, sign me up. I want outfield. But he saw the value and the importance of that position. Maybe not glamorous, maybe not going to be, a superstar, but absolutely critical for the mission to continue, for the game to go on. And I don't think my English teacher realized what she was doing by handing me that book, or maybe she did. Come to find out, she is a believer. Um, but that set my whole like worldview about life and the meaning of life and the purpose, at least for my life, when it comes to seeing. Oh, this is actually in the book too. He's telling his sister, whoever he's talking to in the book, that that's what he wants to be in life. He wants to play catcher in the rye to help young people not get lost in the high grass of life. And however he can turn that into a profession, whatever. But ultimately, that's what he wants his life to be about. And I just latched on to that. I was like, dang, that is worth giving your life to. And already being a believer myself, I could see how those two, the scriptures, and the command to evangelize and to make disciples, and then this story just like meshed so well. Um, and so that set me on that path to figure out how to turn it into I guess, a career. But always that passion that no matter what I'm doing, whether it's restaurant or anything, teacher, there were a couple different things I was looking into as actually what would bring in a paycheck. I always wanted that to be a part of my life, to be thinking about how to keep an eye on the next generation. Um, there's a lot of opportunities to get lost, a lot of opportunities in life to get disillusioned, to get lost. Um, and I wanted to stand in that gap.
Man, I didn't know that story.
Yeah,
We've been friends for a long time, but I've never heard that. That's awesome.
the power of the English teacher, um, or teachers in general,
Oh,
just the opportunity to speak into people's lives and not know 20 plus years go by and I'd not seen her. I did get the opportunity to tell her that story. And that was a cool moment to actually be able to track her down and say, I don't know if you are aware, but that interaction put me on a path for the rest of my life.
mm.
That was a cool moment.
Man, I that is so good, Chris, because I know teachers know it. Otherwise, why would they be teachers? But the teachers have impacted so many kids, and you know, I think about the teachers growing up that I had, and man, they were so impactful. And I have tried to thank some of them over the years, but such an impact, and the multiplication that happens, just encouraging somebody, and it's like um, it's like network marketing, but in a good way, you know? It's like you encourage one person and they encourage other people, and it's amazing the fruit that can come from simple seeds that are planted, and you might not see the fruit of it for years and years and years. And man, that's awesome. So tell me what that looks like now. You're with Young Life. What's Young Life, and what are you doing? And yeah.
Yeah, Young Life is a really beautiful brainchild of a guy named Jim. All of a sudden, I'm going blank on his last name, but it'll come to me in a second. So he's a Dallas Theological Seminary graduate and gets hired on by Rayburn, Jim Rayburn. Gets hired on by
Shout out to Dallas Seminary.
who? What are they? What's their mascot? Do they have any teams?
Oh, no. Not
Okay.
that I know of.
ODTS. So they are, yeah, they're graduating this guy, and he gets hired on by a pastor out in Gainesville, Texas, kind of North Texas area. And the pastor, who we know Jim's name, But most people, even inside the Young Life Circle, don't know this pastor's name. And it's out there to be found. It's not like lost to history. But off the top of my tongue, I can't remember the pastor's name. But he sits Jim down in his office and he says, Jim, listen, I'm hiring you as our youth pastor. And this was before youth pastor was really a thing. He says, I'm not really so much worried about the kids that are coming to church, the children of our families. I got those. The ones that are breaking my heart. And the reason why I'm going to give you a paycheck is because there's a bunch of kids in that school across the street that aren't coming to church. And those are the ones that I want you to go get. So figure out how to do that. I have no description of what that's going to be. It's up to you to figure out. And I don't really even think you should be in the office very much. I think your office is that school, and figure out how to just buddy up next to the school and go win some souls for Christ. And he slaps them on the butt and sends them out. And what ends up coming out of that is the mission of Young Life. And it's a gap between the lost teenager and a vibrant connection to the local body of Christ. And I like to think about Young Life as domestic frontlines missions work that just like a missionary to El Salvador or Poland or some of the other places that we've been to, you move in and you have to kind of adopt culture and you have to adopt language and you have to be really comfortable with maybe things that are very different than how you would prefer things to be in your comfort zones, right? And so I eat a lot of pizza and I drink so much soda and play silly games and um, you know my vocabulary is maybe a little bit weird for my age. But yeah, I'm like on social media probably more than most people my age, but it's because I'm a missionary to a generation, to a particular age group. Um, and we come alongside the young person. And this is not to like bash or anything what the church does, but oftentimes your youth group setting is going to say, hey, bring your friends to church. Hey, and come check out our thing. It's an invitation to come to a church event, and there are going to be kids, and we know that there's a lot more maybe than we think who are immediately going to be turned off by an invitation to a church thing. And so Young Life tries to put some camouflage on that a little bit and say just come to a thing. Yeah, come be hang out with friends. And we're gonna have fun, and it's gonna be good old fashioned, clean fun. We're gonna laugh, we're gonna play games, we're gonna sing songs, some radio songs, but then we might throw you a curveball, and there might be a song that maybe you've never heard before that sets up somebody to give a quick 15-minute presentation of who Jesus is and what his mission is all about, and really who Jesus really is. So we most of those club talks are going to be addressing misconceptions and presenting an unadulterated presentation of who Jesus is, what his mission is, who is God, what is his heart for us, um, and what actually becoming a Jesus follower really looks like. And we take a slow approach to that unpacking, not trying to just do it in. So there's not going to be an altar call, at a Young Life Club. Um, 'Cause we want that conversation with that kid and a volunteer leader to happen outside of the context of a Young Life setting. So, we'll grab a burger with that kid or we'll grab a milkshake or go hang out with them after practice and keep throwing the soccer ball or whatever. Um, and let those conversations continue to happen. Um, Presenting a young person with, we just talked about this at our midweek Bible study that we do, that a lot of times people think Jesus and they think religion being a list of things that you have to do or things that you don't do. And the message of Jesus is really so much of a invitation into life. And this following his path is where true joy, true life is going to be found. And it's not a list of things that you have to do. It's a list of things that you get to do. And and he made it so that you can do them. Partnering with him through the Holy Spirit, we get to Like never again is a sunrise just a sunrise, right? Like now there's deep beauty and meaning in that, and the sound of the bird outside the window. And so we just really try to like help them see that no, this is where life is. It's in a relationship with Jesus. And once we get that straight, then we can start talking about, hey, and you need to be plugged into the local body. Hey, you need to be in developing an appetite for scripture or time in solitude or time in prayer or time in the word and time in, community with other believers. So that's Young Life in a nutshell. And we get to do some really fun things, summer camps and weekend retreats. And like I said, our midweek activities are usually there's a whole lot of fun. And that's the maybe the wrapping paper that we put around it.
Um, that's awesome that you're doing that. Basically, to me, it sounds like a dream job.
I have the best job in the world. Going back to it though, right? There's always a thorn on the rose. We're a nonprofit, so I have to fundraise just like a missionary. So everything that we do is based off of charitable donations of our community and local church bodies. So when times are lean, it gets a little bit nerve-wracking, like any missionary can relate to. I
Yeah.
just my mission field is the local high schools, and maybe not necessarily a foreign country. But if
Mm,
you've ever been inside the schools, they are like a foreign country.
man, I love what you're doing. That is so amazing. Um, before we wrap up, leave us with a word of encouragement, Chris.
Oh man, kind of thinking a moment ago when we were talking about, you know, I think you were talking about being a technician and whatnot, and my brain was going to the whole book of Ecclesiastes, right? Just this man on a mission to try to find meaning in life, and the summation of the book and his journey is there isn't going to be a job or there isn't going to be a place to live or a tax bracket to be a part of that's going to find that you're ever going to find meaning and joy and truth and true vitality, John 10:10 kind of life. It's going to be found when you and the creator of the world are in right step and harmony, and everything else is context, everything else is secondary to that. And you can be are you familiar with Brother Lawrence, the
Yeah.
practicing the prayer? You
Uh,
can be a
yeah,
dishwasher in a monastery
that's the kind of
before
book you really need to
electricity,
read once a year.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We can find true joy in any circumstance. Like Paul talks about, I think it's Philippians, right? Like in any context, in any circumstance, when we've got that main thing, that one thing right,
Mm.
everything else.
Brings purpose to everything.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That breakfast, that sunrise, that your child's laugh. I mean, it all of it starts to make sense and has purpose and meaning and beauty and starts to just really understand the heart of God for his children. And then he invites us into it, right? Because I mean, he could have just obliterated us, but he didn't. And man, chasing after that relationship.
Mm. That's awesome. Chris, I'm proud of you, man. Thank you for reaching your generation. And thanks for spending some time talking to me.
Heck yeah.
And we'll do it again sometime.
Let's. I'm thankful that you're doing this show, and yeah, I hope it takes off and become a big deal.
Thanks, man. Thanks for your encouragement.
Love you, bro.
Love you, man.